But I'll stop there and see if my colleagues on the other side of this Skype connection want to ask any questions about what I've said so far or what I haven't talked about so far. So over to you.
Yes, thank you, Professor Phillipson. I have a first question. You spoke about what is going on in university in many countries regarding the use of English as language of university education and research. By the way, it's what is happening as well in Italy since at least 4 or 5 years with very important universities who are giving courses only in English language. I mean, all the university courses are given only in English language. And beside this, all the question related to the industry, the research, and the communication inside the job places, which is more and more English, done in English, and using a lot of English words inside the communication, even at very low level. All these factors. I mean, the research university, English as language of university and research, and as a language of industry and industrial research. What is the impact of all these? I mean, according to what you think on the economy of a country like Italy or France, a big country. If what is the core of an industry, which is the research activity, is done using a language which is not the native language. I mean, what is, according to you, the impact and the cost and the gravity of using English as a lingua franca, you said, in university research and in industrial research?
Okay, I mean, so far as universities are concerned, all universities in Denmark, where I live, have an obligation to strengthen the Danish language, the national language, and to prepare their students, their BA, bachelor students, and their master students to function internationally as well, mainly in English, but also in other languages. But on the other hand, when more people are being educated through English in this part of the world, this is because the teaching of English in schools is so good that when you study most subjects in higher education, in Denmark, Sweden, Finland, the students who are starting their first year at university will have to read text in English. It, in fact, will be a bilingual education program where the local language will still be the medium of instruction in the natural sciences, in engineering, in pharmacy, and so on. But most of the textbooks will be English. And this is a wonderful experience if the students are good enough. But I remember Renato Corsetti telling me a few years ago that in psychology in Roma 1, I think, very, very few students are able to read texts, specialized texts in his field when they arrive at university. So clearly, if the use of English is being generalized in Italian universities to a large number of students, this sounds as though it's a very stupid idea, basically. It is possible to make students bilingual, which is happening more in our part of the world. But as I say, if a university or even if a department wishes to have an international student body, a lot of students from other countries as well, and therefore thinks that they will have to use English, this is fine. But I think that Italian universities which have foreign students would do well to expect them to be able to function in Italian rather than in English. I think that, but again, as I say, all universities have to have a language policy explicitly these days, which relates to the national language, English, and other languages. So I think that this is a very interesting requirement that universities should be expected to do that. So far as commerce is concerned as well, you mentioned shifting into more research, big companies and so on. I mean, a lot of companies which say that they now have English as the corporate language are in fact bilingual still. It's often only the top level of management or certain research divisions or special fields like computers where English is dominant, even in this part of the world. So I think that the shift out of national languages hasn't really taken place in commerce at all. And the idea is that if you want people to function internationally, obviously, if you have to read English, fine. But if you want to sell to Latin America, you'll probably need Spanish or Portuguese rather than English. So the idea that everyone should concentrate on English, on learning English, as well as the national language, seems to be extremely short-sighted. Just the same as clearly there's a huge market in the Slavic countries, in the Middle East, in China, and so on. So again, I think that the commercial world should clarify what it does need in the short term and in the long term, and there should be national planning, bringing together academics, the commercial world, the political world, and grassroots organizations like your own association to try to get an analysis of what should be happening, rather than these quick fix decisions made by politicians, which are often made on a completely false basis. I think that the challenges in commerce of internationalization do involve a lot of languages, and not just English, and this is exactly why it would be extremely good to have more analysis of what the challenges are as understood locally.
Yes, you mentioned the fact that teaching in university in English in Italy is probably a stupid idea. This is also because I suppose Italian happens to be, some say the fifth, some other the seventh most studied language abroad in the world, because of the Italian culture, history, but also because of the Italian products, which are in some fields very special in design, in fashion, and so on.
Music,
and,
tradition.
And all this, despite the fact that the Italian governments in the last decades have invested almost zero in teaching Italian abroad, while there are 60 millions of Italians or original Italians living in the world, which is as many as they are living in Italy. So this fact of promoting and defending the national languages is very important, and also the fact that there should be a sort of I wouldn't say competition, but still different offer of different major or not major languages around in the world. The problem is, under our point of view, that so far the position of those who were against monolingualism was the position of multilingualism, saying simply that there must be several languages offered around in the world, and in some countries this happens, it's true. But there is also a push from the bottom to simplification, to have one language which could be used as lingua franca. Now, if this is the fact, our position as association of the Transnational Radical Party is that we should move from multilingualism perspective towards federalist linguistic perspective. From a situation in which, in fact, English has taken advantage of the request for simplification to a situation in which some public body, for example, the European Union or others, shall put in the market of language, let's call it like this, in the market of language education, a sort of public language, a sort of real lingua franca, which we consider to be Esperanto, as a federal language for the purpose of a federal language for the public use, and then give to all other languages an effective possibility to compete in some way with English. And we consider that without this choice, it's going to be very difficult, if not impossible, to recuperate the situation as it has been going so far. So, what is your opinion on that point?
You mentioned several points. I'm afraid my own institution, Copenhagen Business School, has in fact abolished the learning of Italian. Italian is now being dropped, left out. And I'm surprised to hear that the Italian government is not promoting the language internationally. France and Germany are still putting a huge amount of money into the promotion of their languages internationally, even if there is so much force behind English at the moment, so much popular understanding of why it's useful to learn English. I think the European Union is saying a lot of nice things about multilingualism, about having at least 2 foreign languages in schools up to a high level. But a lot of what the European Union does in practice is privileging English. If you look at, for instance, many of the activities, if you look at the website of the European Commission, everything is there in English, much is there in French, and very little in other languages, apart from the laws, which have to be in all the 23 official languages. And for instance, if you think of research, if you make an application for money from the European Union, and there's been a lot of money for the natural sciences, for medical research, for nanotechnology, computers, and so on, not much for the humanities or social sciences. You look at the regulations, and it basically says you can apply in any of the official languages of the European Union, but if you don't actually write in English, you are recommended that you should provide a translation into English. and obviously this means everything has to be done in English. And this is massive discrimination against people for whom English is not the main working language, which is probably still a majority of researchers in the member countries of the European Union. This is a perfect example of the way linguistic neo-imperialism works, of the way there are structural forces strengthening English at the expense of other languages. I think this is very sad, and I think that if Italians were able to put more money into promoting their language internationally, this could be a very good investment. And I do think that a lot of people in many parts of the world still have very, very strong positive associations with Italian culture in the past and in the present, even if your political world is a bit bizarre at the moment. I'm afraid that the Esperanto option has never been taken seriously by the European Union, and this doesn't surprise me, because language policy in the European Union has never been a high priority. In theory, until the Maastricht Treaty of 1991, education, culture, and language were entirely national prerogatives. The EU had no money, had no right to do anything in that area. But obviously lots of things are happening without respecting national borders anyway. And there has been a certain amount of work done both in the Council of Europe, which is of course a separate body, and in the European Union to strengthen foreign language learning, and lots of rhetoric about diversity. But I'm afraid that there is no team of experts working within the Commission who understand language policy. Meaning there was the Romanian Leonard Orban, who was the commissioner with multilingualism as his portfolio for 5 years or whatever. I mean, he could just as well have been dealing with fish. It was a new area for him. All of the people in his office were amateurs when it came to language policy area. And with the new commission, language has gone back to the Directorate General for Education and Culture. So it's a very small area within EU general activities in this area. And this means that you cannot expect the issues to be handled well at the supranational level of the European Union. And that means that it is very important that national strategies should be made more explicit and that there should be more international collaboration. What the Council of Europe does is much better, actually, than what the Commission does. But they're also a very small body with very few professionals. And unfortunately, there are not that many academics working in the area of language policy, which is one reason why it's wonderful that my book is coming out in Italian, your book now, Italian, because it will therefore reach a different readership of people who are interested in why English is expanding and whose interests it is serving in that way. Obviously, I'm very happy to use English with you now. It happens to be my mother tongue, but I read Esperanto when I have to. I use Danish and Swedish every day. I use French most days in email correspondence. I use German. So all of us who are internationalists know that it is possible to become multilingual effectively if the right educational policies are in place. And clearly, Esperanto is important, even if not many people realize it. And there will be, as you probably know, the Universal Esperanto Association Congress in Copenhagen this year. There will be a 2-day small conference just before it, on July the 22nd and July the 23rd, about language policy in higher education and research. So perhaps some of you will be there. This is being organized by the association, and it's open for anyone to attend. There will be half a dozen papers and lots of time for discussion, where clearly it will be to do with why English is expanding, what the implications are for other languages, like we've been discussing today. It will also be discussing whether Esperanto can represent a serious alternative in that area. So who knows? There will be lively discussion there, I'm quite sure. There will be a lot of people coming from all over the world who are interested in both national languages and Esperanto.
Last question, just because you mentioned the Romanian European Commissioner Orban.
Yes.
I don't know if you have read about it. There is something interesting going on in Romania in these days. There is the Vice President of the Cultural Commission of the Romanian Parliament, which is a member of the opposition, a Social Democrat, who had proposed a modification on the law which rules in Romania the audiovisual system to introduce the dublage of films instead of the subtitles, which is the method most used now in Romania. And the reason for which he has proposed this new modality is exactly to protect the Romanian language and culture, and to protect the Romanian language and culture from the under bracket colonization going on through the industry of films coming mostly from the United States. I know it's somehow a controversial matter, and also for to consent to elder people and very young people to see films, to watch films in the same condition as others, because it's more difficult for them for different reasons to read the subtitles than for normal people. Of course, the argument of subtitles or doublage is controversial. In Italy, for example, we have traditionally the doublage, and it has produced a big industry, and we are quite good in making doublage of films. In other countries, like in the northern countries where you live, the solution adopted is exactly the opposite.
You have the original soundtrack.
But I found interesting the argument more than the specific proposal that was both an argument of sort of democracy and social democracy and an argument of defense from linguistic colonialism. So what is your feeling, your opinion about this issue?
I really can't see any justification for that, because I cannot imagine that the Romanian language will benefit in any way from that. And I think that, as you say, when it's the original soundtrack, which is what is the sound is an echo now. The original soundtrack with subtitles is a fantastic learning tool, actually. So I'm quite sure that one reason why the learning of English is more successful in the Netherlands and in Sweden and other countries like that is because there's so much exposure to English on television and in the cinema, where they hear the original American or British or whatever soundtrack and read the subtitles. It's a kind of bilingual learning experience, and all happening subconsciously very fast, of course. So I can't see any reason for that. Meaning what Romanians should be doing is ensuring that standards of minority language protection are strengthened in Romania. Leonard Orban did nothing for the University of Babeș-Bolyai, which has been Hungarian medium, and which under Ceausescu was effectively made Romanian only to a very large extent. And that means that Orban never really looked into the issues within his own country. It was probably too politically sensitive for him to do so. And he's now back in Romania, as you probably know. He's not at the European Union any longer. He's in the Prime Minister's office as an advisor on European affairs. I met him actually at a conference in March in Austria. Yes, in Austria. But I honestly think that people in his position and also the people in charge of language policy in the European Union are living in a bureaucratic system with piles of papers and so on all the time. They really don't understand the issues. They're not following what's happening in schools or in research. So they're very much detached from the reality of the challenges in relation to language. And that means that I really don't expect much inspiration or leadership from the Commission when it comes to language policy. I would have thought that Romania should be concentrating on improving education generally. And I think that in a way, when it comes to the expectation that CLIL, meaning content and language integrated learning, I wouldn't say it should not be done anywhere. There has been work done in Finland and in Sweden to monitor whether it's working well or not. It can work well. It can be a very good bilingual learning experience, provided the conditions are right. That's why generalizing CLIL would probably be very unfortunate, counterproductive in Italy. But if you can have a decentralized system with allowing experimentation in various places, and if the teachers are qualified, if the content and language learning experience is good, why not? I mean, that could be very good. It depends entirely on the context. It depends on the quality of what's happening. And I think that when it comes to universities teaching more in English now, the position has been reached by some universities in this part of the world that you only allow people to teach in English who have actually been checked, where there has been accreditation to make sure that they really are able to function at least as well in English as in the mother tongue. This is happening now at the University of Copenhagen. It's a condition for being able to teach on some of their master's programs. And that again is a sign that allowing just these things to happen without proper preparation or quality monitoring is a very dangerous road to go down. The challenges are there, and some of them can be handled very well, and it could strengthen diversity and multilingualism, but there has to be quality in order for any of that to succeed.
Professor, thank you very much for your very, very interesting intervention, as usual. It's been a pleasure to see you again.
Yeah, my pleasure.
To see you.
Okay, but I hope you have a good conference.
Yeah, it was for next Saturday, you mean?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, sure. we hope so.
When do you think the translation will be out, be printed? Do you know how soon that will be?
On Monday or Thursday.
Already?
I hope so.
Uh-huh, okay, great. I'll email you my home address so that you can send me a copy. That would be great.
No, the translation of the book, you mean?
Yeah, the translation of the...
No, I think the translation of this little video. No. No, I have to review all the translations, so I think,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, it'll be a month.
Okay. No, less than a month, I think.
Yeah, sure. Well, let's hope.
Yeah, I'm gonna review it and then send it to you so that you can, tell to me if there are some
so thank you again for all your work with that.
Thank you.
And by the way, regarding the big book of Tove, you were saying something about India. I didn't catch very well because the audio was not good at the time.
Okay.
Would you?
I'll tell you then. I have a copy in front of me here. This is a copy of the same book published in India by an Indian publisher, meaning she was asked when the book was published in India in 2008 whether she wished to make any changes. And there is a short extra introduction by an Indian language policy scholar, education scholar, and she has also modernized it. So what Tove was saying was that you should get hold of this book in order to translate from the Indian.
Okay.
But we could email you that we can email you the details. We can email you the details of this.
Yeah. How many pages is this version?
It's big. It's huge.
Around 800, like the other one.
785. 785.
Okay. Similar to the other.
It's
okay.
big.
Professor Phillipson, thank you very much for everything.
Yeah.
And nice to see you, that you're fine.
Okay.
And,
thanks. It's good. Very good talking to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And,
good luck and all the
wish
best.
to see you soon personally.
Yeah, fine. Let's hope so. Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye. Thank you. Thank you very much.